Hi there, it's Rick Hansen. Well, we've talked with authors, actors, musicians, business leaders, and athletes, and now, for the very first time, a fitness guru. That's right, PJ Glassey is our guest. He's the owner of the XGyms and the XGym app. He's an author and just an all around functional fitness guy. And for a busy lifestyle, this is going to be the perfect workout for you. For the first time, it's faith and fitness on Amazing Greats. We have the opportunity today to talk to a fitness guru, and it's very exciting to know that we have you here today. PJ Glassey has, just give a little rundown on you. You've spent your life really researching and implementing a unique style of exercise built for busy lifestyles primarily. PJ's a personal trainer initially and then launched successful fitness facilities called the XGyms. He's written a book called Cracking Your Calorie Code and co-authored several other books. PJ's appeared on radio and television and now has a virtual X gym app, which we want to get talking about too, because that's kind of the newer thing, right? So now, the first thing I want to say is, for starters, it's a good thing that you snagged the name X Gym before Elon Musk decided to do that.
It's true.
He's,
Yeah,
he's in some ways he's tried to capture X as his own. I'm not quite understanding that, but
right. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Well,
you were pre Elon Musk. Let's make that a point.
okay. And let's circle back to that later because it has a lot to do with Christ. Just the letter X, ancient symbol for Christ.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a fun little story in itself.
Well, let's get started with, because our audience is yet to know you and your faith journey, and I always love to start with that to find out kind of where it all began, where at any particular time in your journey Jesus became real. So take it from the top, PJ.
Right on. Yeah, love it. So everybody has a different age of accountability. And apparently mine was 6. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting in chapel. I've been raised in a Christian home. I'm a recovering Baptist. And not, I say that as a joke, not anything against Baptists at all. I love Baptists. But that's how I was raised. And Christian schools all my life, very blessed. Very few people get that opportunity. And I thank God for it every day. So I was sitting in chapel in my school, and I was 6. And the pastor was talking about the decision to follow Christ and the plan of salvation and all that. And I remember thinking to myself, I haven't done that yet. And so he had an altar call. He said, anybody that wants to take that step, come step out in the aisle and come on forward. So I stepped out into the aisle, and my mom was shocked. She was sitting right next to me. And so she's like, oh, God. And so she stands up and she follows me. She didn't really know what to do. And so went forward, accepted Christ, and just been loving the journey since then. Of course, it's always had its ups and downs. I've never fallen away. I've been more distant and close, I think, like pretty much every Christian out there.
Yeah.
It's a journey for sure. And, but, when I'm distant, I will either be gently guided back on the path that I'm very thankful for, or I'll be disciplined that I'm also thankful for, because whatever God does, it's for our own good. It's to make us stronger. And if He allows us to go through tough stuff, or even tough stuff in our lives, which I've certainly had my share, then it just makes us stronger. And when we're stronger, we can help each other within the kingdom. So the kingdom gets stronger, and we can also be more bold and use our gifts that He's given us to bring others outside the kingdom into the kingdom so He can save them. And so it's all good.
What's the journey that you're on now in terms of your faith and church and that kind of thing? Where are you at?
I'm doing a lot of online stuff right now, and shopping for a live church. So my wife and I are just kind of looking around the area more and trying out different places. And I'm kind of the scout for both of us. So I go out and check it out. And I like talking to the pastor now. So the interesting thing, because the whole COVID thing, the Lord has given me the gift of discernment, and it seems to be selective. So I seem to have horrible discernment for certain things, really good discernment for other things. So I'm not claiming to be all wise by any stretch.
Yeah.
But with this whole COVID thing, there's a lot of different opinions and a lot of different ways that people approached it. And so I'm looking around right now for a pastor who has at least as much discernment with that as I do, because I think it's important to really be able to see the world for what it is, and of course, God for who he is, to be able to see clearly through all the stuff that's going on right now. So we'll get more into the discernment part later, but so that's kind of, I have a new kind of a litmus test now and filter. And so just shopping around based on that new filter.
Yeah. Where you end up and the church community that you belong to is so important. It's so critical because
Oh yeah, that's why I take it so seriously.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure.
And that's and actually my quick little story is that I was a late bloomer. You were 6 and I
Yeah.
was 46 or probably 56. I mean, it's just been a few years ago. But that was critical for me was finding the church and the
Yeah.
pastors that I loved and the worship group that I loved and
Hmm.
then the community, all the people that were there for the same reasons that I was just magical. So
Right.
good luck
I'm
on that
also in,
journey.
yeah, and I'm also in some small groups. Like one example is C3, where it's a Christian business organization where you get into small groups. And it, technically, and I think spiritually, the Bible tells us that anytime you meet together with other Christians, that's church.
Yeah.
So it's not just Sundays going to a building, meeting with other people. Yes, that's church, but it's also church when we have these get togethers with other Christians and talk about God.
Yeah.
So it's good to remember that as well.
Absolutely. I can't agree more. I mean, that is, and sometimes you feel more in God's grace when you're sitting with a couple of guys and just chatting about life
Yeah,
in church. So
right.
let's switch gears. That's an incredible story. I think you're now the youngest accountability guy that at age 6 did an altar call. So,
Right.
so you've set an amazing greats record here which
Yeah,
is great. So
that's good.
let's talk about the gym, the XGym. First, you started out as a just a personal trainer and went to people's homes and helped them with their fitness goals.
Mhm.
But then you opened up the XGym because you had specific ideas of what exercise and fitness could look like. So explain to us what makes XGym what it is.
It's a time hack workout. It's also safe, and it tones and conditions for strength and endurance without muscle bulk. And those were the three things that I set out to accomplish. I got my degree from SPU in exercise science in 1989, and then um, trained people out of their homes for about 10 years while I developed my methodology. And the way that I did that was reading the research, thinking about ideas and experiments to try, and they were my guinea pigs, and they thought it was fun because new stuff, and it just kept taking less and less time as it evolved, and it was more and more effective and safer. And so, because back in the 80s, bodybuilding was really cool. And then, but towards the end of the 80s and the 90s, the bodybuilders started to look more like cartoon figures than people. And so it wasn't so cool anymore. And people just wanted to look more like the cover of Fitness magazine than the cover of Flex. So they weren't really trying to bulk up anymore. They were just trying to look fit. They wanted to feel fit too, and they wanted to be strong, have endurance, be able to do really fun stuff outside, all those functional fitness things without getting bigger. And traditional training is also dangerous because heavy weights, ballistic reps. So I wanted to solve that problem as well. And then it takes a lot of time. So wanted to solve that problem. So 10 years and hundreds of experiments, and a lot of them failed, a lot of them succeeded. Then I boiled it down to my methodology that we use at XGym, and I've accomplished those goals. And so that's why people come to us. And the fun story about the name XGym is in 1996, one of my original clients was so excited about the fitness she had acquired with us working together that she wanted to open a gym, a little mini gym, to help other people. And she didn't want to use my methodology because it was really super complicated. So she just stuck with another method that was, it was good, but it was, just a method. And I kind of helped her on a consulting basis open that gym. And while she was trying to think of a name, she was bouncing ideas off her husband, who was a marketing whiz, kind of like George Soles. And so he started throwing out ideas, and she was kind of just shooting them all down. And so finally, out of frustration, he said, "Well, how about something generic then, like XGym?" And she said, "Oh." So that's how they landed on that. And then when I took over in 98, because I was talking to her on the phone one day in like 97, and because we were, of course, still really good friends. And I was talking to her about I was going to open up a gym in Issaquah that was going to be a rock climbing / personal training gym, because I had to scale myself because the training out of people's homes was getting too busy. And she said, "No, don't do that. Buy the X gym." And I said, "Well, I didn't know it was for sale." She goes, "Well, it's not, but you were right. Your methods would work better than this one that I selected. And besides, I want to start traveling and learn Italian." And so I said, "Okay, well, let's get together and talk about it." And so we got together, and her and her husband just made me this crazy good offer that you only hear about in stories. And so I told them, I said, "You're ripping yourself off here, right?" And they said, "Yeah, but we really want you to have it because, we love our members here, and, you take good care of them, and your methods are going to be great." So that was a gift from God. And then I kept the name because I like the name. It's just the logo is great, the name is great. And then about 10 years later, I was at a movie premiere for a Christian movie that we were watching up in a theater in Everett. And I met this guy, and we were talking and told him at XGym, and he goes, "Oh, is that Christian?" And I go, "Well, I am." And he said, "Oh, because X is the ancient symbol for Christ." And I go,
Oh,
"Really?"
wow.
And he says, "Yeah." And I go, "Wow, that's pretty cool." So apparently I was guided to keep the name, which I
Yeah.
love even more now. And the funniest part about the story is that Melissa and her husband, the ones that named the gym, are Jewish. So,
That's great.
yeah.
So what happened to the members who are already ex-gym members to transition from what her methods were to your methods? Was that a challenge to kind of bring them all along into what you were doing and what you were thinking?
No, because we're such good friends. So it was a great handoff, and everybody was excited, and the methods, they enjoyed the methods. And so the membership grew really fast, and we ended up moving and expanding, and online training and the exercise app. So we got a lot going on now.
Yeah, and so just to get a little more specific about the method, because we've identified that there is a specific one and that it is time saving and it's safe and those things. But to boil it down, it's also you talk about how many minutes per session and how many sessions per week,
Mhm.
and it all seems crazy good in terms of a busy lifestyle. So, what is it that makes um, resistance training quicker and more safe?
Mhm. So what a lot of people don't realize is traditional training was invented in 1891. So it's pretty outdated, and it was invented for the main purpose of bulking up, getting bigger. So that's why some women are afraid of it, and other people are like, "Well, I don't really know if I want to do that." Eugene Sandow was the guy that came up with it. He was a famous European strongman, came to America to make his fortune, and he was incredibly strong and really buffed. And nobody back in the late 1800s were buff. They're all skinny guys. And so Eugene was getting all the chicks. And so the guys back then said, "Hey, we want that. So show us how you train." And Eugene at first said, "No, I don't want to divulge my secrets because I don't want any competition for my strongman shows. I'm making a lot of money." So, but they wore him down over a couple of years, and they talked him into selling it to them. So he did, made a lot of money that way too. And then that's when the sets and reps for traditional training was born. And there's a lot of people, most people are still doing it. And it takes a lot of time because when you're doing traditional training to start, you're looking at an hour 3 times a week. And then as you get in better shape, you plateau, and then you need to add more time. And so then pretty soon, like if you were to walk down at a local beach around here and find someone over 40 who's in amazing shape, if you can, then and ask them how much time they spend in the gym, it's a part-time job if they're doing traditional training. But with XGym, it's 21 minutes twice a week. So 42 minutes a week. And that's equivalent to about 7 hours of traditional training.
Wow.
Without the plateaus, because we changed the method, meaning how you're doing the rep itself every 7 weeks and the exercises every 7 weeks. So traditional training is pretty good at changing exercises from time to time, but they don't change the way they're doing the rep. It's always the same old rep. So the nervous system eventually adapts to it no matter what they're doing with new exercises. Whereas it doesn't at XGym. Keep getting stronger and fitter and more defined and leaner and endurance and all that kind of stuff.
And for those who are wanting to kind of get a little bit um, detailed on all of that, which I did at one point, is there's a video online on your website that kind of has you as the guest to the gym and a gentleman working with you, and you go through the methodology, and it really gives you a good, clear picture of how it works and why it works. And I found that really helpful and kind of shocking, really, that you get, as you were saying in the video, you get cardio, you get resistance, and you get something else. What was the third thing?
Well, you get strength, cardio, and endurance. So a
There
lot
you
of
go.
people kind of think cardio and endurance is the same, but it really isn't. I mean, cardio is heart and lungs, and relative muscular endurance is how long you can really push hard with heavy stuff. And then strength is just raw power. And you get all three in one workout. So you don't have to do separate workouts for each like you do with traditional training.
And so does it translate well to the app? I mean, say I live in Iowa, could I get the same basic training on the app as I would at one of your gyms here in Washington State?
The app has videos. It's a video based and it takes you through the exercises. I'm demonstrating the exercise, so for perfect form, and I'm also doing verbal coaching through the exercise. There's a lot of videos that are just individual exercises, and there's a lot that are full body workouts that people can do. And so they're guided through it. Now, it's not, of course, as good as live training, like when you're working out at the XGym in Kirkland, or when you're doing online training with us, really anywhere in the world. But it's a way better price point, of course. So for a lot more people can afford it. And it's still much more effective than anything anybody could find with a traditional training app. So apples to apples, way better, way less time, just like the live stuff is.
Yeah. And so, and if I don't know what the price point is now, but what I saw was roughly around $30 a month or something like that. Is it
Yeah,
more than
it
that
used to
now,
be
or is that
that.
about?
We
Yeah.
just changed it. Yeah, we were doing the big fancy app with the engine in the background and all that stuff, and you get it through the Apple Store and all that. we switched it to web-based through our website, so very mobile friendly. So it works just as well or better on phones. And we cut the price in half. So now it's 14 a month.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Huh.
So that's crazy. That's more than we spend on a multiple vitamin, in a month.
Yeah.
So so how can you not at least give it a try? I mean, at least
Yeah.
check it out. So yeah.
Yeah, sure. Well, and the other thing that people find really handy with it is they can just pick one exercise that takes 3 minutes, or they can do a whole workout. They can string single exercises together and do their own routine, or they can pick one of the full body workouts that's 21 minutes. Just depends on how much time they have and how much. So I've heard stories from people waiting in line at the Department of Licensing, and they'll pick one exercise. They'll just do it right there. And sometimes they'll get some of the other people in line involved. I
That's
kind of did the same thing at a movie theater. I was waiting in line, and I had my kids with me, and they were young and small back then. And we sat up again. We did a wall sit. We had a contest to see if who could be the sit on the wall the longest. Of course, they're small, so they don't
the
have much
one.
paint at the time. So I won, and then I took my daughter and put her on my lap to continue. And then other people were kind of watching and laughing, and a couple other people got up against the wall. So, it's fun just to be able to do fun stuff and carve out a little bit at a time because every little bit matters.
Absolutely. That's very, very cool. And I love the whole concept is, it's perfect for the times we live in because
Hmm.
everybody's wired to technology, so they have access on the app. And then it's not so time consuming that you say, I can't possibly fit that into what I'm doing. So love,
Yeah.
love the whole concept there. Let's now connect the two,
Hmm.
faith,
Hmm.
which is where we started, and the fitness. And what is it that God says about fitness? What is it that the Bible says about fitness? Can you bring us to that?
Yeah. Our body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. So that's number one right there. And we are to be good stewards of that, just like everything else that we're given. Our health is a gift. And the body wants to be healthy, naturally wants to be healthy. And if we give it the right tools for optimal health, it will get there. But if we don't, and we're getting in its way, then it won't. And so everybody has a different level of health that they're given. We can all do the best that we can. And then what I tell people is, like at XGym, when I'm coaching them on fitness, if they show up and they say, "Oh yeah, I want to get that six pack," or "I'm getting ready for a reunion next month," or something like that, then I say, "Okay, well, that's all great, and maybe that'll happen. But let's just figure out how to get you as healthy as possible and see what happens then." Because when somebody reaches optimal health, like a woman, for instance, might be 27%, and another woman might be 19% body fat. And but that's fine for each one because everybody's an individual and it's health that matters the most. And for men, maybe they will get that six pack, but then some reach optimal health and they don't have a six pack. And that's okay because we've reached the goal of optimal health. And exercise and strength and functional, especially functional strength, is a huge part of that. But we also work with people on nutrition and any other questions they have, stress reduction, better sleep, all those kinds of things, just to get them healthy. Because then, and once they reach their health, what as healthy as they can be, then the temple is taken care of, and they've done their job of really using that gift and treating that gift with the respect that it deserves from as a gift from God.
It also can become an idol. Fitness
Yep,
can become your God. And that's where you get into the bulk up and the bigness and all of that, correct? Is that true?
correct. It can certainly be. There are plenty of people who are buffed and jacked where it's still not an idol, but it can certainly become one, and you can be obsessed with yourself, and that's just another tool of the devil to distract us away from the kingdom. And he's got lots of tools. He'll take whatever he can to accomplish that. But
Yeah.
it can certainly be an idol, and if it's taking all your time, especially, and it's away from God, then because if it's cutting into the time in the Word, praying with others, meeting with other Christians, church, all that kind of stuff, or even where your mind is, if your mind is occupied all day on yourself, then that's a problem,
Mm.
because our mind should be occupied on God. We all fall back and absorbed with ourselves from time to time. Nobody's perfect, but it's constantly striving towards having the mind of God. And as Christians, God is actually living in us. And so just being fuller and fuller of the Holy Spirit. And my prayer often is, Lord, just fill me more with your Holy Spirit and displace me. So the more you come in, the less of me there is, which is exactly what I want. And that's a prayer within his will. And every prayer that we pray within his will, he guarantees that he fulfills that.
So one of the things that you are a fanatic about, I don't know if I'm not going to say it's fanatic, but it's important in all of the functional fitness is mental. And you just mentioned mental. That's what brought it back to mind is, in fact, the first chapter of the book, Cracking Your Calorie Code, that's the name of the book, uh, is all about mental. And you say you can dance around this book all you want to, but don't miss this chapter. Is kind of
yeah.
the way you started. You say this is the foundation, the baseline for
Mhm.
which all other stuff works. So tell us a little bit about the mental game as it applies to fitness.
That's most of it. It's mental. And this is why people struggle. This is why people start and stop. This is why people yo-yo diet and yo-yo weight loss and weight gain. And it's all about the brain. And that's actually why I invented the brain type test, because anytime that somebody at XGym has a big struggle, then I just put them through my brain type test to find out which brain type they are, and then tricks and tips and hacks based on their brain wiring to help them through those struggles. Because what works for me might not work for you. And this is the problem with traditional trainers is when they're coaching their clients on nutrition and health stuff, they're telling their clients what works for them. And they're giving their clients ideas based on what has worked for them. But their client might not have that same brain type. And so the client might find that very difficult, where the trainer finds it very easy. So then the client is struggling with it, and they come back to the trainer and say, I don't know why I can't do this. And the trainer says, come on, just suck it up and have some willpower. But not realizing it's just their advice they gave them wasn't right for that person.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to really figure out is to get inside the brain and figure out how they're wired, and then you can give them the advice based on that. And I've always been big on, helping people with brain hacks and brain training techniques and stuff, but I never went into it big time until my mom was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's back in the year 2000. So then I dove into the brain research. And back then we didn't know enough to help. So she passed in 2005, but I never stopped studying it because everything was changing so fast and I was learning so many new things every day. And it ended up becoming the brain type test, where I've really been able to help a lot of people through struggles based on targeted and unique specific advice for their specific brain type.
So people have different brain types and different body types. And that's the
Yeah.
other distinction that you make. So that
Mhm.
enters into how the training should progress as well. Are they um, bigger people just genetically. And so there's a test for that too. I mean, online, I think there's a sequence of questions that you answer and you can kind of determine what the body type is, correct?
There's lots of different things you can look up online to determine which of the body types. And there's three main. There's the ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph. The ectomorph is somebody more like me where they're naturally lean and it's hard to put on muscle. The mesomorph is, all the bodybuilders out there. They just look at a dumbbell and put on 5 pounds of muscle. And then the endomorph is the one who tends to gain fat real easy. They can also get relatively strong, but they gain fat easier than other people. And so, yes, things need to be tailored based on your body type as well as your brain type. That 99% of the other trainers out there are completely missing and not being able to help their people as effectively. This country has the largest per capita personal trainer count of any country on the planet, and we're also the most overweight. So if you're one of those people that get sucked into the bad junk science of causation equal correlation is causation, then you would say, oh, personal trainers are making this country fat. But it's because the trainers out there just don't really know. I mean, this stuff isn't even on their radar. And so I'm actually working on an online course right now for other trainers to be certified because I want other trainers to be able to do this stuff and to really be able to figure it out and to help more people because we're doing great, but the only way to help more people is to scale it. And so I'd love to do that.
So in there's Christians right along with the rest of the society that we live in, the culture that we live in, who are unhealthy and overweight.
Mhm.
And do you have advice for them? I mean, I guess how to bring them into the fold or bring them into recognizing and appreciating God's gift and then taking care of it.
Exactly. So it's best just to start small with gratitude. And what I tell people is start a gratitude journal. And it's harder to journal for some brain types than others, but it works for all of them. And so I just tell them start with what you're thankful for and what you're grateful for, and then make that also about your health and your body. Because even if you're morbidly obese, there's something that you can be thankful for. Even if it's just that you're still alive, that you woke up this morning, that's something to be thankful for. Or maybe, you're stronger than average. Well, there's something there too. Maybe there's something about your body you do appreciate. Great, write it down. And so focusing on the positives, the good things, that's the good starting point. And then taking things in small steps that are doable. Because what most people do on their New Year's resolution is January 2nd, they go to the gym and they work out for 2 hours and then they're just way too much too fast. But what we're trying to do here is to establish a new lifestyle and create new habits. And that is best done in small steps. So for somebody, that same person I mentioned, morbidly obese, well, your first step is to go out and walk around your house and write that in your journal. That's a success, and be thankful that you can do that. That's amazing. There's millions of people on this planet that can't do that. And so then when you can then walk around it twice and then work up to walking around your block, just do these small steps and write it down. It's a win. Be thankful for it. You can even do the victory pose. Yes, I'm awesome. And because we're also programming our subconscious, and the subconscious brain is the boss of us. And the subconscious really is what drives our 90% of our actions every day. And the subconscious brain also operates at about the level of a 3-year-old. I call it our inner toddler, and it never grows up. And so our prefrontal cortex, I call the parent brain, is the part of the brain that helps us train the toddler, which controls us. And so praying for our toddler, training our toddler, and doing all these little mental things that changes our brain wiring and changes these habits, because the more you do something and the more you can develop a habit, then pretty soon it becomes unconscious. The toddler takes over. And now the toddler's doing it for us without us thinking about it. When you first learned how to drive a car, it was really hard. And there was lots of stuff to think about, lots of steps and actions and things that you have to do, and looking around, and situational awareness and all those things that you have to be really good at. But then now you drive home and you get home and you're like, wow, I don't even remember the trip here, because your subconscious drove you home, because it has now taken over a lot of those as subroutines that are automatic. So that's kind of the goal of how to build habits, but it takes it in small steps. It's the best way.
How do we apply our love for Jesus with the actual exercise routine itself? Is there a way to integrate our faith in the actual sweating and doing what we need to do to be strong?
Yes. So gratitude to God for everything, because everything comes from Him. All good things come from above. And so when we're feeling grateful, we're giving Him the credit, and then asking Him for guidance and for help. And He will help. One of my good friends told me a story that he got out of shape, and he was in a big funk, down and out, depression, all that kind of stuff. He just was at the bottom, and he said, God, I need some help here. And he heard this voice, and it said, okay, start running and take vitamin C and NAC. And so he's like, oh, okay, don't really know what that's about. And then he looked it up, and it was a prescription for it's his brain neurons. And he started running, and he got on, he found that difficult. So he got on Chat GPT, and he used the prompts, and he said, be my running coach from a neuroscientist perspective, and tell me how to establish that habit. And it came back with what I kind of was telling you, is smaller steps, start in small steps and progress up. And then he lost 30 pounds. He felt great. Now he's working out with us, and he's doing amazing, and completely changed his brain. And so stuff like that. So God will honor prayer, and God will honor commitment. So when you say, God, okay, I want to take care of this temple, but I'm going to need some help. And then when you struggle, because you will, everybody does, then you say, I'm struggling, tell me, help me out here. What do I do? And give me strength to press forward, or, God, my brain better than anybody.
Fantastic. That's great. So now let's just jump into, again, back to your personal story a little bit. The you've already mentioned one, and I just wonder if there's maybe another two or whatever places along the path that Jesus is really showing up. I mean, he's really showing off here, and has been clearly a part of it. One, of course, was the XGym, the name. Are there other times where that was really obvious for you?
Oh, for sure. And it was through the whole COVID thing. So, we've been around since 1998. So we've made it through two big recessions, bunch of other catastrophes and all that. And we just made it through it all by God's grace. And He just really looks out for us. And, He can see the future. So He knows the advice to give me based on the future. And back in 2017, we started doing online training. And then in 2018, our lease was up in our Seattle gym. And the Seattle City Council basically they're communists. And so it was weird, and they hate business. And so they were making it really hard for businesses. And so
Can
there's
we
this
quote you
massive,
on that?
what?
Can we quote you on that?
Sure. And so there's this mass exodus of businesses out of Seattle because it's so hard. And so I said, I'm going to jump on that bagwagon. I'm not going to renew my lease. And I'm going to tell all the members that we're going to be online. And online back then was kind of a new thing. And so a lot of them went with us, and because they'd already seen our success with online, but some of them like, no, I want the personal in-person thing. And everybody told me I was crazy because Seattle gym was doing great, but I felt like God had told me to do this. And I'm an entrepreneur, and so I'm no stranger to taking risk, but my wife is not, and she does not like risk. And she concurred that that was a good idea, and I was shocked to hear that. And so then I knew it was God. And some people say, how do you know it's God talking and not just you in your own head? And I said, well, it's kind of like my imagination, but it's better than I could do. So when I heard him say, take this bold step, it's like, I never would have thought of that. So got to be God. And then Bev, confirmed it with her reaction. So, like I said, everybody told me I was crazy, but shut it down, built the online. So the online thing became really bigger in 2018. And then 2019 rolls around, and what's this COVID thing? And then 2020 rolls around, the West Seattle Bridge closes down. The governor makes businesses shut down. And so we were so ready because we were the OG of online training. And so our members, they're like, oh, we're doing that now? Oh, okay, well, whatever. Yeah, that's great because we know you're really awesome at it. And a lot of them, we had been training online, like when they're traveling and stuff anyways, they're all familiar with it. So we had the easiest of any gym that I can even think of that through the whole COVID shutdown. So then also with this discernment, and I question everything. That's just the brain I have. It's gotten me in trouble a lot, but it's also served me well too. And so I started looking into and diving into, because I'm a research nerd and I dive into everything. So I dived into what a mandate is and what an order is and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't law. And so we don't actually have to do this. And the reason that I was looking into it so deeply is because the worst thing you could do for people's health is to kick them out of gyms, because exercise is the number one thing you can do for your immune system, even more than eating right. Exercise is number one. So I'm like, I got to help my peeps. So I opened up early before the governor said I could, but I was ready, in case the government came and was knocking on my door, because then I knew what to say, that, hey, it's not law. And anyways, then so everybody loved it that we opened up early and helped them get healthy and everything. And then the second shutdown came around and I just said, nope, I'm just not going to do it. And we didn't. And we didn't have any, God protected us. We didn't have any problems and kept my people healthy, and it was great. And then when people would, the mask mandate and everything was in, and the governor was telling me that I had to write down a list of everybody who was vaccinated and everything. So when they would come into my gym, I would explain, okay, this is how we are. Inside the four walls of the XGym, we're still a free country, and grown-ups work out here. So you get to make adult decisions about your health. If you want to wear a mask, great. If you do or don't want to get vaccinated, that's your business. It's your private medical decisions. I don't even want to know. It's not my business. And so we just went total freedom America, and people appreciated that too. And if some people were uncomfortable being at the gym, then they work out from home because we have this great online training option.
Yeah.
And so we were able to help everybody, no matter what, and judging no one and loving everyone. And, we even have a sign out, one of our big windows, it's a judgment-free zone. And we mean it, because
Yeah.
people can come to our gym and no matter what their stance on anything. Doesn't matter politics, doesn't matter religion, doesn't matter anything. They're going to come and they're going to get a workout. They're not going to be judged at all. We don't have mirrors in our gym either because it's not about skin deep stuff. It's about health and deeper stuff. And everybody feels loved and accepted, and we train them and we get them healthy, and that's what XGym is about.
Is there a Christian element to the gyms themselves, or do you not go there to maybe make judgment on other people? Is there uh, any discussion of God or Jesus in the gym as a
Yes,
okay?
sometimes we have what we call X Church. It's on Sundays, and where people come and do more extended cardio. It's kind of like open gym. Remember, and when you were going to school, open gym nights, that kind of
Yeah.
thing, where you come and play. So we have open gym, and I'm playing gospel music. And if people want to talk about Christ, great, but it's a very spiritual atmosphere. And then I am certainly not ashamed of my faith, and so everybody knows at XGym. I don't push it on anybody because that's not my style. I'm not the guy with the bullhorn saying, you got to be saved or you're going to hell. Um, and so it's more about just showing them the love of Christ and the light that's inside me. And also the main video on our website, just you scroll down a little bit and it's the first one there, and talk about God in that. And so there's certainly that element in there. Nobody gets preached at. They also don't get judged, and they're just loved and accepted.
So let's talk about a couple of the other things where we can support you and what you're doing. You have a blog.
Hmm.
Your kind of handle is Peej, and your
Yeah,
wife is Beej. So it's Beej and Peej's
yeah,
blog, right?
yeah.
And there's videos and there's just written, but there's that. You've
Hmm.
got the book, which is now a little. It was written in 2008, so I think it's time for you to come up with another one, a revised edition after this.
Yes,
Just put a little pressure on you there,
I no, I appreciate that. Yeah.
and and then the app. How do people find the app? And if they wanted to jump into that, tell us how to go about doing it.
Everything is on xgym.com, xgym.com. So we've got a lot of really good blog articles on there. We have the other website, beachandpeach.com, which has some more things. But if people just start at xgym.com, there's links to the other blogs on there too. And then there are also buttons to all the other options. So there's a button for the app, there's a button for online training, there's a button for live Kirkland Club training, and all that stuff.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for your wisdom and your great knowledge of the whole area of functional fitness and functional medicine, even though the fruit thing is still bothering you a little bit. But
Well, keep
but
doing what you're doing because it's working for you.
yeah, well, I do try to keep active so that maybe that's part of burning off some of the fructose, I guess.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So cool deal. Thank you so much. Is there any parting words that you have for our audience today? A
Well, no,
spiritual passage of something.
yeah, I guess the parting word you just brought it up with we were talking about our wedding videos because one of them is how we both really surrendered and how we came to really become one and get married is the state of surrender. And we think of surrender as a negative thing, and we bash France for all the surrender jokes and all that kind of stuff. And surrender seems like it's a sign of weakness. You're giving up weakness, and I think in a lot of contexts surrender could be thought of that way, but not when you're surrendering to the creator of the universe. Then it's an awesome thing, because if I can surrender my life, my decisions, my business, my marriage, everything to God, just give it all, lay it at the cross, surrender everything to him so he's in control, that's way better than I could do. And so just to be in a state of surrender, and even when you're trying to get in shape, just say, God, I surrender this to you. Tell me what to do. I'm completely at your beck and call. You guide me, you direct my steps, create my path, everything, Lord. Just completely give this all to you. We can do that for a lot of different parts of our life. And going back to George Tolles, he has a great 4-step prayer that I tell people about, whether things have happened that's really good or things that have happened that's really bad. It's 4 steps. You say, thank you, Lord. I trust you, Lord. What does this mean? What must I do?
Amen.
And that's a surrender prayer.
What a great way to wrap this episode up. Thank you so much, PJ. Really appreciate your time and everything you've contributed today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, what an awesome conversation with a guy who really connects science with the soul and puts Jesus in your workouts. Thank you for joining us. And if you hit like and subscribe, you'll help us to grow the pod. We'd appreciate that. Much love and God bless from Amazing Greats. Rick Hansen saying, see ya.